Hello everyone, welcome to SAP PI training. So we have been hearing a lot of queries around what could be probable migration strategy for PI PO to cloud integration, how the customer can move to the cloud integration solutions provided by SAP. So let's discuss this. So there is already a plan migration basically strategy which SAP is providing. We will just go through that. But before that, there is a product roadmap which you can see. So on a quarterly basis, you will see what SAP is right now planning to offer in the quarter-wise phases. So if you see, we are at Q4 2022. You can come down and here you will see probable new features additions onto the process integration category, and here you will find some beta version related strategy which SAP is actually going to offer to the customers, which you can definitely explore. And these are the phase wise or quarter wise new additions in terms of the feature wise. You can definitely explore. And apart from that, there's a product technology platform integration suite. This particular link will give you an idea why to move to SAP integration suite. Some of the use cases are also provided over here. Some of the customer success stories are also provided, strategies and all. And if you come down at the bottom of this link, you will find some of the documentation around this. And some of the partners who are part of this entire transition journey, they have also provided their use cases and their tools, all this stuff you can get through this. So basically these links are very handy and very rich in learning. You should definitely explore. And before that, whatever we have done based on our 4 or 5 migrations, the interfaces which we migrated from PO to cloud integration based on the very small amount of chunks which we migrated, what all the initial level challenges actually we faced, we will just discuss. And again, you can take it way forward, but essentially the migration strategy needs to be categorized into two approaches. Whether let's say the customer is using PO and they want to do the full migration. When I say full migration, means they want their entire interfaces to move to cloud integration. That can be approach one, you can say. And another approach would be where the customer is still using PO and some of the things they will be running on cloud integration, and some of the integration they will still use PO as a integration broker. So what could be the approach for that as well? So if they are using any on-prem kind of integration, if they are managing any on-prem integration, they still be using the PO solution. And if there are any cloud-based integration, when I say cloud-based integration, means any API-based integration or integration with any SaaS product, they should be moving to cloud integration. Those interfaces needs to be moved to the cloud integration. Apart from that, any new development which they are planning to do, that also should be moved to cloud integration. So this approach needs to be taken care by the customer who are running lot of interfaces. There are thousands of interfaces, let's say, they are running, and it's not a good idea to move the entire set of integration onto the cloud integration. So probably they can plan a strategy in such a way. The interfaces which are running on the cloud or the SaaS based or the API based integration, they can first identify and move on the cloud integrations, and some of the existing on-prem, they can still continue with the on-prem integration solution using PO. And at the same time, if the customers are not on PO 7.5, they should plan to move to this particular version 7.5. That is also they need to consider during this entire journey basically. So these are the two approaches that they will be taking care, and once these approaches are identified, basically they need to assess how many interfaces they are running right on their landscape, what is the complexity of those interfaces. All these aspects are very important, and SAP is also, as I mentioned, that some beta version tools are also planned. So you can definitely leverage that to assess at the initial level, and there are some third-party partners, the partners who are assisting in the entire migration journey. They are also offering some of their assessment tools. Using those tools, you can assess the entire time frame of this migration. So that is more on the tool side. But yeah, once you are all done with the identification of interfaces and all, what can be the probable challenges or the kind of integrations which you need to consider during this entire journey? So these activities are primarily categorized from the developers side, and there are some activities that needs to be considered from the infra side as well. Infra, or you can say operation side. So the activity that needs to be taken care of from the infra or the operation side looks very simple, but based on our experience, these are the activities, those are very critical and those are very time consuming as well. So when you will be doing your assessment, you might be thinking that these activities going to take less amount of time, but eventually when you try to realize, you will be finding that the estimate might be differing what you have identified at the initial level. So when I say infra-related operations, means what all the connections or the landscape basically related third-party integrations which you are doing with the third party, those needs to be considered. So let's say if you are right now connecting to any third party through PO, so eventually once you start your migration journey, those integration points needs to be taken care at the cloud integration side. So those connections and some of the security related discussions, if there are any PGP keys are there, all these things basically, these needs to be considered, and our recommendation is to keep a dedicated team who will be following up on this, or might be, so these are some of the discussions which are not mainly from the technical side. When I say not from the technical side, means once you get all the credentials and all, any integration consultant means part of your team member, he can very well maintain those connections. But yeah, when I say for getting those details and all, someone from the operational team should facilitate that, so you can create your team or design your team in such a way. You can identify a dedicated person from your PMO team who can do all these correspondence and try to pull all this information, because these informations are sometimes you would be needing to connect to your third-party vendors, and some of the information you might be getting from your internal infra team as well, your internal IT team as well. And since if you are already using your system since long, so there are chances the team has already done some transition, and most likely some of the time you will be losing these credentials as well. So you have to backtrack that whether that is being nicely documented or not. But yeah, once you start encountering this type of challenges, probably the expectation is to make the life easier for the upcoming or the next generation of the people who are going to assist this particular project. So you need to do the documentation in such a way so that it can be leveraged at the future phase as well. So that is more of from the infra related activity. It looks that the efforts are very less, but eventually these efforts are very important, and these are some of the efforts which are essentially dependent, are going to be dependent on your entire migration. So coming back to from the developer side, what all the things that needs to be taken care, or what all the challenges you might encounter. First and foremost, there is no migration tool as such. So there is no 100% migration tool. So right now, 2027 is the deadline for PO, and I think that is being extended to 30 as an extended support from SAP for PO. So until 2030, probably the client, they can still be using your system. But when I say there is no migration tool as such, but definitely as on date, there is no 100% migration tool, though the partners, they are providing their tools, but there are still some limitations around those tools. Those are not 100% automating the entire migration on some of the adapters. So that is the limitation. So there would be definitely a lot of manual activity that needs to be considered. So when I say a lot of manual activities, so what kind of manual activities we have to be considering over here? So unlike PIPO, you do not have any central repository where you can maintain your message type and all this stuff. So here you have to import your entire, based on you have to understand your entire integration, and you have to import the XSDs and all, and you cannot maintain that at a single repository so that you can leverage it with your next iFlows basically. So central repository is not available like PIPO. So this becomes little cumbersome for the developers. And in terms of mapping, so mappings you can definitely import to your cloud integration, but again there is some dependencies. So if you are using any UDFs, that will again UDF for your Java mapping, basically that will become a little tricky. So though you will be able to run your UDFs or Java mapping, but you will not able to enhance that within your cloud integration. So if you are not able to enhance, and if in future there is a need to do that, then again that would be a dependency over here. So basically you have to be very selective whether which particular mapping you can use or not. And if you are using any RFC lookup within your mapping, that you cannot use. Basically that RFC lookup will not work within your cloud integration. So to enable that, you need to design your iFlow in such such a way so that you can pull those information. So again, there is expected manual effort over this kind of message mapping if you are planning to import. And if we are dealing with some enhancement, when I say enhancement, the sense means adapter modules. We do have adapter modules. You won't find these adapter modules at our integration side. So when I say not available means it's in a sense your adapter module sometimes does that conversion from your XML to CSV or from your CSV to XML. So here at cloud integration, these are to be taken care by the shapes. Converter shapes will help you to do that. So again, you need to add those converters in your integration flow so that you can convert and do the conversion, basically CSV to XML. Unlike your adapter module, which you can configure at the adapter level itself, you cannot do in the cloud integration. So you have to put a logic so that it can do the conversion. So this is again another area where you need to consider. And if you are using any enhanced receiver determination, so enhanced receiver determination you cannot do here. So in cloud integration, basically it runs in another way. So let's say this is a receiver 1 and receiver 2. So you need to connect when the message will come to your exchange. You have to connect like that. Okay, so within your receiver determination, the advanced receiver determination will not work in this way in cloud integration. So you have to consider that aspect as well. So there might be request, reply, whatever, basically, or if you are calling it an SFTP, whatever it is. So basically, you need to use the receivers basically to achieve this functionality. So if you are very much comfortable with the cloud integration, you will be able to do that. But yeah, since the advanced receiver determination kind of thing which you want to implement from your existing integrations, that needs to be manually taken care, and you cannot even like your monitoring. So your PO is very mature, PI PO product is very mature, and which comes with a monitoring is the one of the key capability, I would say. So the kind of monitoring which you can do at the PI PO that you cannot do at the cloud integration or CPI. So being a cloud product, you do not have liberty to keep this logging on the cloud, though you can enable the traces, and the trace will be enabled for 10 minutes. And if you have to, on top of that, if you want to do some monitoring or logging, you need to use Groovy scripts at the places where you want to log. So these are the considerations you need to think of while you are doing comparison in terms of the monitoring as well. And at the same time, you might come up with some of the cases where the requirement is to use the proxies. Okay, so ABAP proxies are some of the very main things which SAP has always recommended on top of iDocs. So SAP has always recommended to use or consider proxies. But now, if you see this particular migration strategy, these proxies are not going to work basically the way these proxies used to work previously. So if you are using massively on the web-based proxies, then probably in case of an outbound, then you have to think of a mechanism so that you can use that. So using a SOAP call, or basically you can create a WSDL out of your proxies, and you can make it as an outbound to your cloud integration. So this is one of the way. Or if you can, on top of that, if you can build your proxies, you can identify, and somehow you can think of an IDOC. This approach can also work, but again, in this approach also, when you are converting your proxies and identifying it to map it to the IDOCs, means some of the manual efforts you are expecting at this area while converting the proxies to IDOCs, and then again doing that integration, and at the same time you can also, the other approach is to create the WSDL out of it, and then you can use it or consume it within your cloud integrations. So I think proxies is one of the area which client is massively using, since it was always recommended by SAP because of the enterprise architecture. That is how. But if you now see, the IDOCs are older technology in terms of the proxy comparison, if you do. But yeah, IDOCs are right now one of the savior, I would say. So IDOCs integration will very well be running as it is. But yeah, there is some limitations in terms of IDOC integration. When I say limitations, in the sense you cannot, in case of an outboard IDOC, you are not very sure whether that IDOC has reached to the destination. Basically, you are not going to get the acknowledgement. For that particular scenario, you need to make your iFlow in such a way so that you can send back that acknowledgement to the on-prem system. So let's say if you get your IDOC gets and status code as 02, probably it means it has not reached to the destination. So what we generally do, if we are working in our on-prem system, we go to SM58 transaction, and we can very well see whether the receiver determination or whether it has reached to the receiver or not. That error you can very well see at the SM58 transaction itself. But yeah, if you're connecting to cloud integration, if it's giving 02, you cannot retrigger it because you are not very sure whether that where it is actually failed. So in that scenario, what you can do, you can create your iFlow in such a way it is coming from your IDOC to your cloud integration, and within cloud integration, at last you can create or put a JMS adapter, JMS receiver, and that receiver queue will be holding that. If it is a failure, then from here you can re-trigger it. So how JMS adapter works, you can explore it very well. It's a very nice document which is provided by the SAP as well. So you can leverage that. But yeah, this is how you have to build or think of your integration, because the acknowledgement is not possible. So that is one of the area. And another, the last basically the last point is which we face, that unlike PI PO, you cannot start or stop your integration, basically your interfaces. You cannot start or stop. In cloud integration, you have to undeploy it. You have to undeploy this integration using undeploy. So that is how you have to basically stop your interface, and same way only last 30 days logs you will be able to see. But I think that remains same. It is irrespective of the migration strategy. That is how the cloud integration is maintaining the messages, because of the cloud product unnecessary message persistence is not recommended because of the resources constraint. So these are some of the challenges, or I would say pointers that needs to be taken care. And again, these are being categorized under two categories: from the developer's perspective as well as from the infra side, some of the operational activity that needs to be considered. So I hope this gives you some idea. And yeah, as I already shared that link, you can explore that and you can share your views as well, your entire journey to us. Thank you so much. I hope this finds you